Have you ever wondered why a simple snake in a dream terrifies us so deeply? Why, even when we know it's harmless, something ancient stirs within us? That is because it's never just a snake. It is a symbol, a living image drawn from the depths of the unconscious. The snake may slither in the grass of our gardens, but it also wins its way through the unseen landscape of our soul. To the rational mind, it's a creature, cold-blooded, reptilian, instinctual. But to the deeper psyche, it carries meaning, danger, transformation, temptation, wisdom, rebirth. This is the secret life of symbols. They speak in the language of the soul. Every snake we encounter, be it in dreams, myths, fears, or moments of awakening, is an invitation to explore what lies beneath the surface of things. Beneath every fear hides a lesson. Beneath every symbol, a story. The snake reminds us that we are more than what we seem, that within us lies something darker, older, and wiser than we dare to admit. When we ignore it, the snake bites. When we face it, we shed our old skin. So remember, when you see a snake, outside or within, it is never just a snake. Thank you. Symbols are not to be taken at face value. They are vessels of deeper meaning, rooted not in logic, but in the mysterious currents of the unconscious mind. When we encounter a symbol, whether in dreams, art, religion, or myth, we are not dealing with a simple object or idea. Instead, we are brushing against something ancient, something that speaks not in words but in images, feelings, and impressions. The unconscious does not communicate through reason or argument. It speaks in symbols because that is its native language. A snake in a dream is not a reptile. It may represent danger, healing, suppressed desire, or even a call for transformation. Its meaning cannot be found in a dictionary. It must be felt, intuited, experienced. Symbols emerge when the conscious mind can no longer express something important. When words fail, symbols appear. They help bridge the inner and outer worlds, the known and the unknown. That is why people across cultures, separated by time and geography, have shared remarkably similar symbolic images. The tree, the serpent, the mother, the shadow, the hero. These are not coincidences. They are expressions of universal psychic patterns that reside in every human being. These symbols evolve, adapt, and take new forms, but their essence remains the same. They carry messages from the depths of the soul. To misunderstand a symbol is to miss its invitation. When someone sees only the surface, they miss the entire message. For example, when a person dreams of falling, it might not mean physical danger. It could reflect the loss of control, fear of failure, or a descent into the deeper self, a necessary fall before growth. These layers of meaning cannot be accessed by logic alone. They require emotional sensitivity, reflection, and sometimes a confrontation with uncomfortable truths. Because symbols arise from the unconscious, they bypass the ego and speak directly to the core of our being. This is why symbols are powerful. They carry more than words ever can. They bypass the intellect and ignite the imagination. They can wound, heal, inspire, or terrify, not because of what they are, but because of what they mean to us. The meaning of a symbol grows and changes over time, depending on where we are in life. What once terrified us may later comfort us. What once confused us may one day reveal clarity. And the symbol does not change, we do. When we honor a symbol and seek its meaning, we do not just analyze, we transform. we enter a relationship with something deeper than thought. We become aware of forces working within us, shaping our fears, desires, and choices. To understand a symbol is to begin understanding ourselves. And once we realize that what we see is not all there is, the world becomes infinitely richer, more mysterious, and more alive. The snake has always fascinated and unsettled humanity. It appears in our oldest myths, religions, dreams, and fears. There is a reason it continues to haunt our imagination. It is not merely a creature of the earth, but a powerful image rising from the deepest layers of the psyche. The snake, when it appears, is never neutral. It coils with meaning. It represents the mystery of life itself, both its darkness and its light. To some, the snake brings fear, the primal reaction to something unknown and possibly deadly. But to others, it brings wisdom, a secret knowledge that comes only after facing what is hidden. This dual nature makes the snake one of the most potent archetypes in the human mind. It is a symbol of transformation because it sheds its skin. This act, so simple in nature, carries profound psychological weight. To shed the skin is to let go of what is old, worn, no longer needed. It is a death and rebirth at once. The snake teaches us that growth often requires letting go of identity, of safety, of certainty. Transformation does not come through comfort. It comes through discomfort, through a confrontation with the unfamiliar. The snake emerges from the shadowy places of life, places most people avoid, and whispers that change is not only necessary, but inevitable. At the same time, the snake embodies fear. Its movements are silent, its body strange and different from our own. Its venom, in some species, can bring death. This taps into a deep, instinctive part of us. But psychologically, the fear of the snake often points to a deeper fear within ourselves. The fear of what lies beneath the surface of our conscious minds. The fear of our own impulses, shadows, and untamed emotions. When the snake appears in dreams or symbols, it may be a sign that something within us is demanding to be acknowledged, something we have ignored or repressed, and that confrontation with fear is the first step toward growth. Yet, the snake is not merely a threat, it is also a bearer of wisdom. In many traditions, the snake guards sacred knowledge or dwells at the base of the spine in spiritual systems that speak of awakening. It is coiled potential, waiting to rise. Its wisdom is not given lightly, it must be earned. One must face the snake, endure its presence, and understand its meaning to access the insight it holds. The knowledge it offers is not theoretical. It is transformative. It changes the person who receives it. Thus, the snake lives in the realm between death and rebirth, fear and insight. It is a guide through the underworld of the soul. To reject it is to remain unchanged, but to face it, to allow its lessons to unfold, is to begin the journey of inner transformation. The snake teaches what cannot be taught in words. It must be experienced, endured, and ultimately integrated. Fear is often seen as something to avoid, something that signals danger and urges retreat. But in the inner world, fear is not always a warning. It is often a doorway. What we fear is not just what threatens us. It is often what challenges our current understanding of who we are. Fear arises when something within us is stirred, something we do not yet understand or do not want to confront. Yet in that very place of discomfort lies the key to our transformation. The things we avoid, the thoughts we suppress, the memories we bury. These are often the sources of our greatest potential. Growth does not happen in the safety of what we already know. It happens at the edge where fear lives. The unconscious mind holds much that the conscious mind cannot grasp. And fear is one of the signals that this deeper layer is speaking. When we fear something, especially something intangible, like rejection, failure, or the truth of our own feelings, it often means that part of ourselves is asking to be seen. That fear is not an enemy, it is a teacher. It points towards something we must face in order to move forward. And when we finally turn toward it, when we stop running and begin to listen, we find that the fear begins to change. What once felt like a wall becomes a mirror. It shows us what we have been missing. It reveals hidden strength. It demands honesty. Facing fear requires courage, not because it disappears when confronted, but because it transforms. When we walk through fear, we are not the same on the other side. We grow because we have stretched the boundaries of who we believed we were. We gain insight, depth, and resilience. The experience of fear, when consciously engaged, becomes a catalyst for inner expansion. What once made us tremble now becomes a source of clarity. We no longer live in avoidance. We begin to live in awareness. Every meaningful transformation begins with an encounter with fear. The fear of change, the fear of truth, the fear of loss. All of these are signs that something within us is ready to evolve. The process may be painful, but it is honest. It strips away illusion and reveals what is essential. In this sense, fear becomes sacred, not because it is pleasant, but because it is powerful, because it shows us where we are stuck and where we are ready to break through. We must learn to trust that what we fear is not there to destroy us, but to awaken us. Behind the fear is the lesson. Behind the lesson is the growth. And behind the growth is a deeper version of ourselves, waiting to be found. Our dreams and instincts are not random or meaningless. They are expressions of the inner world. Messages from parts of ourselves that the waking mind often overlooks or avoids. They emerge without our permission, beyond our conscious control, and because of this, they carry a truth that is deeper than thought. Dreams, with their strange images and symbolic language, and instincts, with their wordless urges and reactions, both come from the unconscious. They reveal what lies beneath the surface of who we think we are. While our conscious identity is shaped by reason, choice, and social roles, our dreams and instincts speak the raw truth of what we feel, desire, fear, and need at the deepest level. A dream may seem bizarre or confusing, but behind its strange form is often a direct reflection of our psychological reality. A conflict we suppress in waking life may appear in a dream as a storm, a dark figure, or a lost child. The dream does not argue with us. It simply shows us what is there. It reflects not who we pretend to be, but who we truly are inside, even if we are not ready to admit it. It gives form to what is hidden, and in doing so, it offers the chance for integration, for us to become more whole by acknowledging what we have ignored. Instincts operate in a similar way. We often try to tame or silence them, believing they are primitive or irrational. But these natural responses, our anger, fear, attraction, or hunger for meaning, are not enemies. They are guides. When we feel a strong instinctual pull, we are being shown something important about ourselves. Instincts reveal what we long for, what threatens us, what we must protect, and where we find vitality. When we trust and explore these reactions rather than repress them, we begin to understand the forces moving within us. The challenge is that modern life teaches us to ignore both dreams and instincts. We are told to live from the surface, logical, productive, controlled. But in doing so, we lose connection with the depths. And those depths do not vanish just because we ignore them. They express themselves in other ways, through anxiety, illness, depression, or sudden emotional outbursts. When we reconnect with our inner life through dream work or listening to our instincts, we begin to recover the parts of ourselves that have been forgotten. We rediscover creativity, purpose, emotion, and meaning. Dreams and instincts are not distractions from life. They are part of life speaking to us. They hold the stories we have not told, the wounds we have not healed, and the potential we have not yet claimed. When we pay attention to them, we come closer to the truth of our being. And in that truth, we find not only who we are, but who we might become. Facing inner darkness is one of the most difficult yet necessary journeys a person can take. It requires honesty, and courage, and a willingness to step into the unknown parts of the self. Those hidden emotions, painful memories, destructive patterns, and denied truths that have been buried deep within. The inner darkness is not evil in itself. It is simply the part of us we have not yet come to terms with. It is the shadow, the rejected, the feared, and the forgotten. And while most people try to avoid it, suppress it, or project it onto others, it continues to influence our lives from beneath the surface. To face it is to interrupt that cycle, to take back power from what once controlled us in secret. The process is rarely pleasant. It can feel like descent, like being lost in confusion, pain, or isolation. It challenges the ego, the part of us that wants to maintain control and appear strong. But this confrontation is not meant to destroy us. It is meant to transform us. When we shine light into the darkness, we begin to see ourselves more clearly. We realize that what we feared was not some foreign enemy, but a part of our own nature, distorted by neglect. The anger we denied, the grief we avoided, the fear we pretended not to feel, all of these are human. And when faced with compassion and awareness, they begin to shift. This is the beginning of personal rebirth. It is not a return to who we were, but a movement toward who we are becoming. The old self, built on avoidance, illusion, and fear, starts to dissolve. In its place, something more honest, grounded, and whole begins to emerge. We begin to live from a place of deeper truth. This rebirth is not always dramatic or sudden. Sometimes it is quiet, subtle, and subtler. But it is real. We may find that we react differently to life, that we make choices from inner strength rather than fear, that we feel more connected to others and more accepting of ourselves. What once felt like a burden becomes a source of wisdom. What once seemed like darkness becomes the ground from which light grows. The myth of descent and return is as old as humanity itself. The hero goes into the underworld, faces trials, suffers loss, and returns transformed. This is not just a story. It is a map of the human soul. We all carry the potential for rebirth within us, but it is activated only when we are willing to go where we have refused to look. The inner darkness is not an end. It is a passage. And on the other side of that passage is the discovery of our deeper self, wiser, freer, and more alive than before. The human psyche is a vast and complex inner world, layered with thought, memory, emotion, symbol, and instinct. What rises from it? Be it a passing thought, an intense dream, a sudden reaction, or even a moment of silence, is not without meaning. At first glance, many of these experiences seem random or disconnected. We dismiss our dreams as nonsense, our moods as chemical, our impulses as irrational. But beneath this surface appearance is an order, a symbolic and emotional language that speaks through the soul, waiting to be understood. Nothing in the psyche is random. Everything that appears, no matter how strange or subtle, comes from somewhere within and serves a purpose if we are willing to pay attention. To live as if these inner events are meaningless is to turn away from ourselves. We end up walking through life disconnected, confused by our own behavior, repeating patterns without understanding them. But when we begin to listen, to really listen, with curiosity instead of judgment, we start to see that the psyche is always communicating. A recurring dream might be a message we've refused to hear. A sudden sadness might be grief long ignored. Even a small irritation can point to a deeper frustration or unmet need. The psyche does not waste its energy on illusions. Everything has roots. Everything is trying to express something that the conscious mind has not yet fully grasped. This listening is not passive. It requires attention and openness. We must learn to interpret symbols, track emotions, observe our inner reactions as carefully as we would study the behavior of someone we love. When something within us repeats, an image of fear, a desire, it is not accidental. Repetition is the soul's way of insisting. The psyche continues to speak until we are ready to hear it. And the moment we begin to listen, the inner landscape starts to shift. What once confused us begins to reveal its structure. We begin to see how certain thoughts connect to past wounds, how behaviors mirror unconscious beliefs, how our dreams show the truth behind our masks. Listening to the psyche is an act of respect. It means we believe that our inner life matters, that it is not a random flood of chemicals or impulses, but a deep and meaningful system that holds the key to our healing and transformation. It is a sacred process, quiet and personal. Over time, it builds a bridge between the conscious and unconscious, between who we think we are and who we truly are beneath the surface. The more we listen, the more we learn to live in alignment with our deeper self. And in that alignment, we find not only understanding, but also freedom. The freedom that comes from no longer being a stranger to our own soul.